Hey guys, welcome you on my YouTube channel. Today we will discuss about the structure of organization. And in the structure of organization, if we have to decide who will structureize best the organization and what is the essence of an organization, then there is a need of a proper hierarchy. As in the hierarchy, we see the top level as well as of the bottom level. That is the hierarchy from top to bottom in the organization structure, where the rules comes like that all. Authority, rule, responsibility lies with the top management. So, today we will discuss in our lecture the chief executive functions in the organization. Right. So, what is the chief executive? Is the head of the administrative system of a country. Right. So, administration is like a pyramid, broadest at the base and the tapering towards the top at the vertex of the chief executive. The chief executive is the pivot around which the actual administrative revolves and include all officials engaged in the administration. Right? It means that chief executive is a person around whom all the organizational structure revolves and all the decision go through from him, right? So type of chief executives are different types of chief executive, as there are broadly speaking three types of chief executive, that is the parliamentary or cabinet form as in India and Britain, and the presidential form as in the USA, and the collective form as in the Switzerland, right? So cabinet form of chief executive persist in India and Britain, right? So India are the outstanding example of a chief executive. That of a British Queen's is in theory and repository of all executive authority, which in practice is exercised by the cabinet accountable to the parliament. Thus, she is just the semblance of the chief executive, whereas the real chief executive is the cabinet. In the parlances of Indian presidents or Indian president is analogues to the British monarch, and the real chief executive is the Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head, right? And all the decisions are taken by the Prime Minister with the help of cabinet and approved by the President. So next is the President form of the chief executive. This function or this distinctions is absent in the presidential types of executive. The United States is the classical example of this type, right? And in that country, the president is vested with all executive power, and it is he who exercise this power himself and independently. So, elected for a period of 4 years. The president is elected for a period of 4 years, and to it is very difficult to remove him from the his office, and there is a difficult process of impeachment if requires to remove the president from his seat. Next is third, collective form of chief executive, that is persisting in the Swiss executive or the Switzerland, and it is the collective body of 7 members known as Federal Council, and this council is elected for 4 years by the assembly, and one of its members is elected by chairman known as the president for only 1 year, right? And next, the president resembles the American executive, but is no sense the chief executive, although the hold the office like it. In Swiss executive, all decisions are taken by the Federal Council as a single authority, right? So next is the real an analysis of the cabinet, presidential, and collective type of chief executive reveals many point of differences. To begin with, in countries where parliamentary system of government reveals the real chief executives is the cabinet, which is a plural body. And second is, if we take the second difference is concerned with the executive legislative relation. In the parliament form of government, the member of the cabinet are also the member of the parliament, right? And next, in fact, they provide legislative and fiscal leadership to it, initiating the piloting legislation and the budget, right? So next is function and powers of the chief executive. We have discussed the three differences, that is parliamentary form of chief executive, presidential form of executive, and mixed form of executive. And we have find out that in India and Britain, that is a parliamentary form of chief executive. In America, USA, there is presidential form of government. In Swiss, there is collective or common of both parliamentary as well as of presidential. Next is function and powers of the chief executive. What are the functions? First is the political and second is the administrative function. They perform two types of functions. So what is the political function? The political functions includes obtaining and retaining the legislative force for his policies and program. It is the responsibility to prepare the budget and seek the legislative sections for expenditure and income and providing leadership to nation. According to Donald Stone, has observed the chief executive job is one of dealing with people, of judging, adjusting, and to working and personalities both inside and and outside the organization, right? So in fact these functions are not of direct concern to the student of public administration. So this is the political function. Now administrative function, given by Luther Golix in the words post-cov, and he suggested that chief executive must function planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting function. That is called in the acronyms as POSTCOB. POSDCORB, POSTCOB. Other administrative powers, the numerous administrative powers of the chief executives may now briefly be described as follows. First place, the chief executive formulate administrative policy. Chief executive is solely responsible to prepare or to plan some such sort of policies to accelerate the process of growth of the economy or the state. So secondly, the chief executive authorizes the structure of the organization through which administrative function. New activity necessitated the creation of new department and agency. Though in the presidential government, power of the president are quite limited in the matter of organization. He can create or abolish smaller agency and transfer them from one department to another. Right? Next is the thirdly, the chief executive wield power in personal administration. He appoint and dismiss the public officials. He derives this power from the constitutional system of the land, and thus the scope of his this power is not the same in all countries. However, in countries where the merit system of recruitment normally prevail, key appointments are made by him at his own discretion, like in India. For example, the governor, ambassador, judge of the Supreme Court and High Courts, etc., are appointed by him at his discretion. You have to remember this point that president have discretionary power to appoint the governor, ambassador, judge of the Supreme Court and High Court, etc. Right? And the fourthly, the chief executive issues a direction or a directive, proclamation, orders, etc. to make the administrative activity conform to the statutory powers. Next is fifth, the chief executive order investigation and inquiries, and by this general power he makes himself sure that the power he delegates to numerous officials of varying ranks are not abusive, right? Next is he has budgetary responsibility. The chief executive prepare and submit the annual budget to the legislature, and after the latter approval, execute and implement it. The Indian Financial Code, for example, enjoin upon the chief executive the responsibility for the preparation of budget estimates. In the presidential government, on the other hand, the formal budgetary authority is vested in the Congress. Next is coordination is among his most important function. In an administration, conflicts and differences are not unusual occurrences only. Also, more than one department might be engaged in some single activity, leading thus to duplication and overlapping. The problem are no doubt tackled at all level, but some of these do reach the chief executive for a settlement, right? Next is actual role of chief executive. So C. Gopalachari, while delivering Patel Memorial Lecture, enumerated six requirements of a good administration, namely character. First of all, the character should be very neat and clean. Second, capacity to judge upon relevant advice and to decide promptly and rightly. The administrator or the chief executive must be good judge and a good decision maker. So second is capacity to inspire confidence among subordinates. Then he must play the role of motivation or motivators. Next, no vacillation after a decision is made. Then he must not go for regrets after once he has decided to do some sort of action. Even temper, and to bring into being a sense of social purpose. These are the function of a chief executive. Hope so you have understood this concept. And if you like this video, please share, subscribe my YouTube channel and like this video. Thanks to watch this video.